Hi, everyone. Welcome to the May 2025 Energy Update. I am Galactic Ashley. I am a channel. I specialize in trauma informed integration support for ayahuasca, master plant dietas, wachuma, kambo, and cacao. In addition, I am a spiritual guide helping others forge meaningful connections with the divine. My greatest joy is supporting seekers ready to commit to their journey of healing and growth and whom desire to live their unique path. I offer this through entheogenic and spiritual integration coaching, channeling and light language mentorship, telepathy support for parents, biannual courses, and personalized one-on-one channeled sessions. And you can find out more about me at galacticashley.com. In addition, I have a Patreon community, which is at patreon.com/galacticashley. And mark your calendars for May. And you can go ahead and feel free to join us in the Patreon community because this month our special guest inspirationalist is Sarah Marie. This event will be online on May 20th from 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific time. The title of this talk, which will run from 90 minutes to 2 hours, is called Why This Matters: Understanding and Embodying Our Divine Nature. Sarah Marie is a licensed massage therapist and intuitive healer and psychic medium who has walked alongside others on their healing journeys for over a decade. With a gentle, grounded presence, she weaves together massage, Reiki, shamanic healing, and intuitive insight to help people mend from deep emotional loss and remember their wholeness. Her work is rooted in compassion, ancient wisdom, and a heartfelt commitment to supporting others in finding peace, clarity, and connection. She's also a dear friend of mine, and I have worked with her for a while, both personally within her healing practice, and she's been a great and wonderful friend and support. Additionally, spring and summer are the perfect seasons to dive into plant devotionals. This has been a message that's been coming through the plants recently. But if you are interested in working with me on a plant devotional, especially with the blooming energies and vibrant flowers that are all around us, this is really the perfect time to form a deep intentional connection with a specific non-psychedelic plant or group of plants. And this could look like working with cacao, rose, gardenia, dandelion, or any plant that speaks to you or appears in your dreams. If you're unsure of which plant to work with, don't worry. We can discover it together during our first one-on-one session. This practice really invites you to create a sacred bond with the plant through time, presence, and gratitude, often in a meditative or ritualistic setting that we create together that aligns with your current life circumstances. I offer plant devotional journeys in a 6-week container. So feel free to schedule a free consultation to explore this practice with me. Also, I'm now offering 30-minute oracle card readings, which I call visual medicine sessions. These readings incorporate 2 unique oracle decks that I've been working with, which I created and are still in prototype form. The first is called Sacred Portals, a crystal bloom oracle deck, which features crystals and flower grids designed to create basically these portals that are opening, and it's through the energies that come together that create these really powerful synergies. The Patreon community has been receiving 1 card a month from this deck based on the crystal and plant allies for each month. The second is a shadow deck showcasing artwork from 2 decades of my documentary photography and writing called Anima Us. I actually really like working with these 2 decks together. They seem to complement each other really well. I like to, pull a few cards for the session and then follow up with the healing energies from the Crystal Bloom deck. Last but not least, for those of you that are in the Portland, Oregon area, I am hosting private cacao and crown group events for 5 or more guests in my backyard through spring and summer. Reach out so that we can gather for an immersive experience that celebrates creativity and honors the ancestors. Connect with tradition through a sacred cacao circle and the artful creation of hay, Tahitian flower crowns. So, this can be great for birthdays, bridal or baby showers, or even as a way to honor loved ones who have recently passed. Okay, before we get started, for those of you that are new here, there's something I just like to note in the beginning. I often reference the beings when I am speaking. These are the energies I work with and have spent my life cultivating an intimate relationship with, whom are facets of the divine. These include the dragon consciousness, my ascended ancestors, the plant medicine consciousness, the crystal consciousness, and the star beings. Most of the time, this is sufficient. If a specific energy chooses to reveal itself, it will. However, for the most part, referring to them simply as the beings is enough. Personally, I often use the term God, but you're free to interpret it in a way that resonates with you, whether that's the universe, source, or the divine. We're going to go ahead and do an invocation of the energies. We invite in each one of your soul's guidance system. We ask that the ultraviolet dragon beings draw a flaming circle of light around all of us, regardless of when you are listening to this. It is not important. We are beyond space and time. We are calling in each one of your soul's guidance system as well as mine. I am asking for my ascended ancestors, the ancient ones, the salt beings known as Haleakala, and the Fae and the dragon consciousness, Foxglove, and the Prehnite Epidote, all the nature beings and nature spirits that have come together to help facilitate this transmission. We ask for all of the energies to come through the words that I say and that they are able to land in each one of your energy fields in a way that feels appropriate and makes sense to you based in where you are at in the moment that you are receiving this, knowing that everyone is safe, guarded, and protected. So with that, we say, welcome, 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 and thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to the May 2025 energy update. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, when the beings are coming through me, frequently my nose itches. Sometimes I might yawn or need to pop my ears, but more often than not, my head and my face itch. And then sometimes you might see me pulling on my ears. Totally normal. And I'm not going to edit around it. I just want to bring some attention to it, that I am aware of what I am doing and what is going on. We brought through this transmission a while ago, but were unable to create this recording and post it until now. So thank you for your patience. And this is also part of the transmission and the energy itself, because these past few weeks have felt tangled and off kilter. And I don't know about you, but I actually still feel like I'm in April. It's sort of as if the flow of time is really slippery and is moving. I lost my rhythm. My deep dive came out late in April and everything got pushed back. I actually literally lost the deep dive in the ethers and had to call IT with the program that I record on to actually rescue it. So I'm really truly trying to trust in the organic, non-linear timing of things. We often like to believe that we live by, I mean, I don't believe this, but I think many of us believe that we live by a 30-day calendar. But the truth is that we don't. The earth doesn't. Life doesn't. So I'm really surrendering to that deeper rhythm as best as I can. And of course, healing all of the parts of me that say, we missed a deadline, we made a promise, it didn't come out on May 1st. So it didn't come out on May 1st, and here we are, imperfect and all, recognizing that we are still in the energy of purification. Imagine that. But the focus is shifting. Last month, it really felt visceral, rooted in the physical, fiery, fire, 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 more fire. And now it's moving into the ethereal, the spiritual realms, really asking us to engage with belief systems, thought forms, and the architecture of the mind. And I really love that phrase when it came through, because the architecture of the mind is like a crazy circus sometimes, most of the time. Right? I mean, not the architecture, but what we tend to build around the architecture. But the architecture is really has a lot of integrity. But what we place on that architecture can be really circusy and scary and psychotic, right? This is sort of where the psychic and the psyche are merging into this energy field, and this is where the confusion and lack of clarity can come in. All I keep seeing when I'm talking about this are those red and white tents and spinning things and rides, and let's assume in this case that the rides and the structure of the architecture of the mind are actually really well built. Like the structure and the architecture is well built, but what are you building on it, right? This is about mastering the mental body. May is about mastering the mental body. So watch out. That's all that I can say is watch out. And it's not really mastering it in the sense of control, but in expanding beyond our current limits. You can think of belief systems as scaffolding, temporary structures that support us until we outgrow them and are ready to build something new. So this is the time to look to see what is a really solid structure of the mind and what is scaffolding, and to really take apart the scaffolding. And what that looks like is when someone has a near-death experience or a divine encounter or works with plant medicine. For example, let's say previously they identified as an atheist or or held any rigid belief system really, and suddenly their entire worldview shifts. So think about, has this been happening to you? This is really when Pandora's box opens. And once it opens, there's no going back to the old way of being. You can't have this thing open, this whole new belief come out that you have structured your entire life around. Have it open, have a new belief system, and try, and you can't push Pandora's box back in. This month is a lot like that. It feels slightly subtler, but no less potent. This is really about the quest of clarity, finding clarity through the chaos. But clarity doesn't come without confusion first, because it's really that confusion is really pushing on your ability to discern. It's really pushing on what you want to remain unconscious of. That can manifest. It can look like feeling tired, foggy, or disconnected as if parts of you, your ego, your old stories, they want to stay sleeping. So they are going to resist waking up. Think of, for those of you that have a teenage son, waking them up on a Saturday. They don't want to wake up. They want to stay sleeping. It's that kind of just like, let me sleep, leave me alone. And it's simply resistance. Let's just not judge it and know that it's resistance, right? And there's that phrase, resistance is not in the way. Resistance is the way. So where there is resistance, that is a giant sign showing you the path. It's funny that we're talking about resistance because my computer just shut itself off and now we're having to re-record again. So this resistance can show up as exhaustion, as your body processes the dissonance between what you thought you knew and the expansive experiences now presenting themselves for you, now asking for your awareness, and eventually your integration. As mentioned in the last April to May transition deep dive that was made available for the Patreon community, the fire energy we worked with last month is still here, simmering in the solar plexus and the lower chakras. It's not leaving anytime soon. Expect it to carry through the spring and into the summer. This is all of that deep womb work, the lingam work, the hara work, the yoni work. It's coming in slightly softer now, slightly more tempered, or at least feels less intense, slightly, right? And it's important to remember that we're not alone in this process. And the reason why it might feel less intense, particularly for those of us that are in the northern hemisphere, is that the sun is a powerful ally. It's a space holder. I love, love, love thinking of the sun and knowing that the sun is an actual energetic being that is functioning as a space holder for this type of deep work. Longer days offer a warmth and a steadiness, encouraging us to keep going even when the inner work feels heavy. This is the kind of energy that is showing us as we are doing our deep work. It's the kind of energy that also gives us this extra little oomph to actually take action on what we are integrating. So it kind of transcends just the mental knowledge and the mental working and sort of fuels our body to actually take these micro actions to make shifts to really embody this kind of new way of being. And in addition, the flowers and plants too are abundantly available right now, lending their energy to this process, which is why whether you work with me or whether you work alone or you work with someone else, it's why doing plant devotionals right now can be really, really beneficial so that not only are you held in a container by me or someone else, but that you have a plant that can help support you through the benevolent disruption. For me personally, I've always loved doing deep work in the winter, of course. I'm a huge fan of shadow work in the winter under the stars and the moon, but there's something uniquely really supportive about summer's sunlit energy, which for me holds the power of integration support. And it's working with darkness under the sun feels just like a tiny bit nicer. And again, it offers that fuel or that ability for, I feel, for me to actually take some action on what is coming up to process, what is being asked to integrate, and to find actionable and application for the learning that is coming through me. This month carries the colors of green, of white, of pink, and some red tones, tones of renewal and heart opening and grounding. The spirit of the work is slightly gentler, focused on nurturing the inner child and calling in the power of magnetism. Magnetism is a pretty intense power that I'm not quite sure that we all really understand how to work with. And that'll be something that we look at in the Patreon community a little bit more deeply. And the crystal ally of the month is Prehnite Epidote. Prehnite Epidote is a balm for the inner child, while Epidote amplifies and magnetizes your energy. Epidote is also really good for the inner child, and Prehnite is a portal opener. We're going to get into that later too. But these energies really amplify and magnetize energy, pulling in what is aligned with your growth. These are the energies that will hold us as we navigate these shifting landscapes this month, inviting us to soften, expand, and reimagine the structures and the containers and the lowercase truths that we've actually outgrown. Let's talk about epidote and how it magnetizes. Wherever your thoughts go, that's what amplifies. And epidote amplifies your thoughts even more. And this makes this energy an incredible ally, capable of working with even the deepest wounds within your physical and spiritual body, because it's actually accessing your subconscious. So it doesn't matter what you are consciously believe your thoughts to be, those are true. And your subconscious is also matching those thoughts, because this is how the quantum field works. And at the same time, what epidote is doing is it's sort of like super magnetizing these energies. It is bringing up, whether you're conscious or not, what you are actually calling in. And the pre-night is really supporting those tender, kind of more neglected parts of ourselves and supporting our inner children. So the two of these together are really beautiful, and it's always helpful because they actually grow together. So I always love the phrase, what grows together goes together. And when we're working with our inner children, when we allow these wounds to open, they become visible. And then when they're visible and we're aware of them, then ultimately they are processable and healable. They don't disappear, but they can become part of our story in a way we can observe them without being consumed by them, so that we can take these steps towards healing ourselves and being aware of how that energy has been influencing all of our actions. Epidote as a mineral ally is really profound for this kind of work, especially when paired with prehnite. These two often grow together, as I previously mentioned. And prehnite really softens epidote's intensity, immersing it in a gentler, more heart-centered energy. Together, they guide us into the space of the heart, a sacred meeting place between earth energy and the infinite fire of co-creation. And this month, the heart is truly where the journey leads us. And this month, the heart is really coming up as the energies to work with, even though mental clarity is kind of leading the way. We can't really separate the heart from the mind. And this is in part where some of the confusion is coming from. Our plant ally this month is Foxglove. It operates similarly to prehnite in that it's a portal to the natural world and the frequencies of the unseen. This is really for those of you that feel like you are connected to fae, that you are connected to nature spirits, that you feel like you have lineages with the elven beings, the little people, dwarves, plants, animals, whatever it is. This is the season to connect with those lineages. The the plants and the fae and the nature spirits are just everywhere. I channeled this earlier, wasn't able to record it, but I have been having some really intense forest and plant energies. Like everybody is out. And when we are working with Foxglove and Prehnite specifically and Epidote, the world and the portals and everything in the forest is just absolutely opening and talking, and it's really beautiful. So if you've been wanting to work with your connection with the plants and the spirits, or connecting to the Fey realms, or anything with wings that feels just part of the interdimensional and multidimensional energies of earth, and connect with these other lifetimes that you have had in a way that helps you with your embodiment and to help be more human, this is the time to do that. Foxglove reminds us to stay open to the magic of the earth, and it's a party right now. It is a fairy party. It is a fairy nature spirit party is happening. The ancient energies that pulse through the earth's veins are just awake and alive. And that they're helping us with integration, right? Because in a way, there's a lot of these energies are hybrids of who we are, and they've been here for so long. This is a time of integration, of weaving together the water, the fire, and the earth energies we've been working with over the last few months. While fire has been dominant, it's important to remember that I think the water started coming in really strongly in March. Yeah, because we were working with Larimar. That was really like an oceanic frequency, but the water is still lingering. But it really feels, when I was bringing this through, it's this beautiful like spring water. It's clear and fresh, and it's the kind of spring water that's cascading from the mountain to the ocean. I recently stood at the convergence of these two forces just the other weekend, and it was one of the most magical experiences. There was this clear water that was gushing out the side of the mountain, that was coming through on this magic sand, which was gold and glittering because of the type of sand that it was, and it was black, right? So the gold glitter was actually being amplified, and it's this feeling of the enchantment of that union of the fresh water merging into the salt water, and the glitter, and how soft the water was in my hands and in my feet. Like, I just couldn't get enough of it. And this is the kind of energy that is available. But listen to those energies. It's like black sand with gold, with two different frequencies of water that are available. And it's like the healing is available even when there's darkness. We just have to kind of like look for it, and also just really lock into these sort of beautiful moments that are being presented to us during challenging times. That was a free moment. That was a moment that was actually emerged out of a really challenging situation, because I happened to be with a person while we were walking down the beach, and there was kerfuffly energy that was going on, and there was kind of a denseness. And then this experience just kind of opened itself, and I definitely dove into that experience and was really super present with it, and tried to bring the other person like along this magic journey that was happening, and he just couldn't quite do it. And that's okay, because he was getting what he needed to get from this sort of nature excursion that we were on with the dogs. And this is really to say that if we stop and just take a breath, there is something around us that is worth being grateful for, that is trying to support us, some part of us that is trying to get us to get into a slightly different frequency, or to shift our awareness even when things are hard. That there is still aliveness, and that things are still vibrant, and that there is still a connection as we go through these cycles of basically renewal, which is essentially death and rebirth. I get that it's hard sometimes. And when we have these moments of joy, it's really worth just leaning into them and doing our best. Foxglove is a plant that teaches discernment and balance. This plant is also the mecca for fae. The fairies love this plant. I remember when I first moved into this house, the fairy beings were like, we would like some fairy houses. And I said, I can't be building a bunch of fairy houses right now. And they said, no, of course not. Plant foxglove because they're like fairy apartments. And I was like, oh, I will bring you all the foxglove that you would like. So, no problem. That I can do. What's beautiful about foxglove and what I love about it is that it's both a poison and a medicine. And these are really like the best kind of like plants to work with because they're teachers of discernment. It asks us to root deeply into our work, to grow steadily from the ground up because it blooms in orderly rows from the bottom of the plant up, all while holding the power to both harm and heal. It's a beautiful reflection of what we are, that we all have the power to harm and that we all have the power to heal. Let's not pretend like we don't have the power to harm people because we all have the ability to hurt someone, and to recognize that sometimes we're harming people without intention. And this month, we are being supported to let all this fire energy from April come up and all the things that it brought up to actually fold it into May so that we can start integrating some of this energy so that it's not burning us out, but it's helping to support burning away confusion and helping us to create some clarity. And we can allow this sort of fire that has coming in slightly less intense to actually let it stoke our creative fire so that we can start refining what we know no longer serves us rather than just going in and being like, that doesn't serve me, like, get out of here. We can actually start clarifying our desires and what we need and what we are here to give and how we would like to give and being more open to giving. Salt is a new ally that we're going to start working with. It is stepped forward this month, and it's a reminder of its ancient and grounding powers, among many other things. We'll explore its depth and significance more in our upcoming Patreon deep dives. And salt isn't just a one-time teacher. My ascended ancestors have come in and they said that different salt varieties will be returning month after month as a companion on this journey for everyone, because salt has really specific beautiful stories that it wants to tell, energies that it's holding. Much like the crystals, it carries the vibration of its origins and its land and its water and the way that it's made. And because we ingest it, it literally interacts directly from the salt into our cellular body in a way that rocks and crystals don't, because we're not really eating rocks. The frequency of salts that is showing up this month is the Haleakala Ruby Sea Salt. That is our salt ally this month. It resonates with the deep volcanic fire energies that we've been tending, especially through the month of April. And it's reminding us that these aren't just flames. The volcanic energies are not just flames, but that they're the arteries of the earth herself. They are the molten blood coursing beneath the surface and directly connecting with our own heart and the arteries within our heart that is directly coursing through our own blood, that's connecting us to the heart of the planet. And that heart energy is what is rising right now. And it's asking us to meet it with openness, whether we are opening to grief or joy, and really all of it all at once, because that's usually how those two energies interact with each other. And this month offers us an opportunity to integrate the energies of the past, more specifically, these fire energies that are still rocking and rolling from April. And so the salt energy can really help us to ground some of these more fiery frequencies, reminding us that there is still grief to be felt and that there are still layers of joy that we are being asked to clear space for. For those of you that are in the Patreon community, I encourage you to revisit the deep dive energy update that came out at the end of April that helps us fold in the April energies into May, and let it act as a guide to assist us as we move into May and the rest of the summer. Foxglove, Prehnite, and Epidote. These energies are direct portals into the natural world, into the web of nature, spirits, and the wild intelligence of the land. And what do these portals teach us? That we are not alone here, for one. Both in the we're not alone here, we can do the work, we're worthy, we're valuable of being here, and we are supported. And also, we share this planet with a vast assembly of beings, seen and unseen, and they are asking us to remember them, to acknowledge them, because the more we forget, the more unbalanced things become. And part of this process revolves around the idea of reciprocity. And reciprocity isn't just an act of kindness, it's a necessity for healing. We can't fully mend our human bodies or spirits without honoring the natural world. Our ability to heal is completely dependent on our connection to the earth, and that means our connection to our bodies. We do not exist without the beings of earth. The plants, the ancient ones, the fae, the elven beings, they aren't passive observers either. They've been here longer than we have. They've been here forever. They're here to support the earth, which means they're here to help us too, but their allegiance isn't unconditional. Not to you, it's not. They're not bound to us. Their loyalty is to the earth and its well being. If we want their support, we have to meet them halfway with gratitude, awareness, and action that reflects our recognition of all they tend to that we inherently receive. This is what feels most important to me right now, to integrate without judgment, to soften into compassion, and to rebuild reciprocity with the natural world. Reciprocity isn't just an idea, it's a practice, one that asks us to listen, to acknowledge, and remember that we are part of an intricate, living, and breathing system that is far larger than ourselves. We can pause and think about this for a moment and reflect on something that feels pretty essential, which is our relationship with nature and the spirits that live within it is really, really, really important. Because if we don't honor these spirits, if we don't acknowledge their presence, how can we heal? Even if we're operating from a selfish place and we can't get there any other way, if we can't honor them, if we can't see them, if we can't understand what they're actually doing for the planet and what they are offering us, how can we heal? Like, if we have to come from a self-centered place, then we need to honor them so that we can heal. Because if we think about it, isn't it a kind of arrogance to believe that we can heal ourselves without their guidance? Because the medicines that we rely on, even the pharmaceuticals, come from the wisdom of plants. But those plants, those spirits, had to first decide to share their medicine with us. Because again, their allegiance is not to the human, their allegiance is to this planet. Without their offering, we would not really know where to start. And I'm sure that there's plenty of people out there that would argue with this, but that's fine. Because indigenous communities have known these medicines and been carriers of these medicines for generations. They've nurtured relationships with the spirits of the plants, with the elements, with the land itself, with the salts, with the crystals, with the earth, with the fire, with all of the elements. These aren't just objects or tools, they're alive and they carry wisdom. And once upon a time, we humans were part of this natural system too, seamlessly connected to the earth's rhythm. But something has changed. We began to feel the separation, fall into the illusion of separation. We began to colonize not just the land, not just ourselves and other humans, but even our own connection to the earth. We literally sabotage our ability to immediately self-heal and to be in a divine alignment. We broke away from balance, from reciprocity. And yet, despite that, these beings, the plants, the elements, the fae, the elven, the ancient ones, they still help us. Why? Because they're not just here for us, they're here for the planet. And since we have such a profound impact on the planet, they continue to give, literally offering their bodies to us, hoping that we'll remember, hoping we'll reconnect with who we truly are beyond the noise, beyond the disconnection. They're literally still waiting for us to wake up, waiting for us to have some kind of remembrance, to have some kind of memory, to activate something in our cellular body so that we remember who we are and why we're here, and that every act that I do unto you, I am doing unto myself. And this month, we want to invite you into that process of remembering through the spirits. I mean, the nature spirits are here to help assist you in remembering. It's a process of restructuring. We've spent the last few months working through the body, and now it's time to turn inward to the connection between the heart and the mind, to lift the fog that clouds our thinking and challenges the belief systems that no longer serve us. And what does it mean when we talk about belief systems that no longer serves us? Because it's not just a random phrase that really needs to be thrown around. It really means looking at the paradox of existing within systems that we have consciously or unconsciously helped to build. Systems that confine us even as we benefit from them. I'm going to repeat that. We are being asked to look at the paradox of how we helped to build, knowingly or unknowingly, systems that confine us even as we benefit from them. Recognizing this complicity is not a call to shame, but an invitation to awareness. As soon as we start shaming ourselves, we won't look. To awaken is to see the ways we've contributed to systems of oppression. For me, this is really what it means to awaken. We are not awakening and magically flying into 5D. What we're doing is we are awakening to understanding how we are contributing to the collective systems and structures that we are both enslaved to and have created and participated in creating, and that we are also benefiting from, and how we are also benefiting from systems that we have helped to create that are enslaving others. Because whether we are enslaved by them or someone else is enslaved by them, we are all enslaved by it. To honor that we did so, that we created these energies, these systems, these structures, to honor that we did so with the knowledge that we had at the time, and to begin the work of disentangling ourselves and of understanding that this is a process where we will be uncomfortable because we need to face things within ourselves. And while we are emphasizing the structures and the systems sort of in the outer world, this also applies to inner world structures and systems that we have set up within ourselves. These are the belief systems that we might be benefiting from, because every situation in our life, no matter how difficult it is, whether it's a relationship or this habit that we do, some part of us is benefiting from that. Even if you're looking at it and you're saying, I don't benefit from that, that is doing nothing but destroying me. But some part of you is benefiting from it. So being able to work with these energies to see how you are benefiting from a terrible relationship, or how you are benefiting from spending all of your money and not having any sort of financial security or solvency. But we can't do this because oftentimes we make choices and decisions based on the information that we have at the time. But once we begin to gather more information and again start cracking open this Pandora's box, then we have the opportunity to go back and to forgive ourselves for what we did and to move forward and start making different choices and making some changes in our life. And the path forward requires courage and grace as we dismantle what no longer aligns with our truth and imagine something freer, more expansive, and always inclusive. And through this process, we begin to learn that liberation begins inwards, and the systems we seek to transform cannot hold us captive when we commit to embodying the change we wish to see. And the key word there is embodiment. Oftentimes, that means taking small micro movements, small steps to make choices that are different, even when it's challenging. So if you have always dated someone or been with somebody that does this kind of thing because it reminds you of the chaos of your childhood, then when you start dating somebody that offers you something different, it can be really hard and really challenging. And so we can be kind to ourselves. We can recognize that we are taking micro steps towards being a version of ourselves that we truly desire to be. And this really isn't about force or rigidity. It's about softening into new ways of being, allowing creativity to flow through us, and inviting these new thoughts to settle into our hearts, right? This month is about mental clarity and self mastery of the mind. It's about getting rid of chaos in the mind, focusing on really tuning into the mental structures and allowing thoughts that actually make sense to really settle into our hearts where they can truly take root. And this process won't be easy because transformation is rarely is. But we're being asked to take that creative fire that we've been stoking and begin shaping and forging it into something beneficial and sustainable for ourselves and our communities, something tangible, whether it's a project or a relationship or a new way of engaging with the world. This isn't about burning brightly and then burning out. It's about building systems, mental, physical, emotional, that can sustain this creative energy over time. We are being asked and called to over and over again to create systems within our day-to-day lives that will support us to sustain levels of creativity that we can create with, and that we can find solutions to all of this upheaval and all of these systems that are falling and crashing. We need new creative solutions. And even as April's fiery energy continues to ripple through the month of May, our bodies and the collective field, we're being called to focus on the fire of the heart, which is desire. And what does heart fire look like for you? What does that mean? Just take a moment. What does it mean to have a fiery heart, to feel passion, to feel creation? What does it feel like to you? What is desire? How do you feel about the word desire? Desire often vibrates alongside fear. So ask yourself, what are you afraid to desire? What does divine desire mean to you? How can you follow the pull of your soul and truly follow it and take action on it? Because desire is a potent force deeply intertwined with soul's purpose. Desire is not merely about creating or longing for physical or material fulfillment, but it's rather a sacred compass that guides us towards the realization of our highest potential. So, of course, why would the outside world frequently make people feel shame around desire, or take the word desire and simply put it with passion and then merge it with just sexual energy, that it's just this random desire, when really desire at its core, this divine desire, this pure desire, is actually a compass that is showing us how we realize our highest potential. Because when desire becomes tethered to fear, envy, or excessive longing for external validation, it distorts into the force that then consumes us. Again, this comes with the mastery of, we're trying to integrate the April energies. This comes with the mastery of, how do you play with fire? How do you stoke the fire? How do you tend the fire? How do you become a fire tender in a way that doesn't let you burn out, that stokes the creative flame, that allows you to desire without being consumed by it? This is the master of fire. It's not easy. We want to have longevity. We want to be able to have the sacral and the root stabilize in a way that it is able to desire and bring that energy up through the heart. So when we become consumed by desire, instead of liberating our spirit, it traps us in cycles of dissatisfaction and comparison. This is where you can start thinking about mindless scrolling, wanting something simply because someone else has it. This is when our sexual desire gets really spun out and we end up craving sort of physical satisfaction because we can't actually manage our own energy system, or we start turning to porn because we are looking for a release. This is when things have really gone unbalanced, and that desire becomes a lower level of frequency, and it just becomes about want and grabbing and sort of greed, because it is really through clear, purified desire that we align with divine will, and it pushes us to step into the unknown, to confront our fears, and to trust in the unseen. True desire emerges from the soul, whispering the truths we are meant to embody and the paths we are destined to walk. To honor desire is to honor the divine call seated within us. Honoring desire while decolonizing the mind requires a conscious unraveling of the narratives and ideologies imposed by oppressive systems, right? So we're back into deconstructing systems of oppression. And it begins with an act of reclamation, reclaiming the authenticity of one's inner voice, stripping away the layers of societal conditioning that distort our understanding of who we are and what we long for. So, who we think we are and what we think we want or long for, because true liberation is not found solely in rejecting external structures, but actually in cultivating a radical self-awareness that allows us to discern which desires are genuinely ours and which have been shaped by systems designed to restrict. What do you think keeps you in the scrolling loop? What do you think keeps you locked into watching porn? What do you think keeps you into eating food or wanting the next wanting to binge watch more shows? What do you think keeps you wanting the next object or the next thing? So by disentangling desire from colonial and patriarchal frameworks, we can access a profound sense of purpose that no longer conforms to oppression, but instead nurtures collective freedom and healing. And this personal and communal alchemy transforms desire into a tool for empowerment and justice. And love is in the justice. When we connect with the true desires of our hearts, we open the door to reciprocity. So now we're back with the energy of reciprocity. It's about crafting real, actionable, and creative solutions that truly support our fellow humans, honoring the spirits of nature and caring for the earth itself. The world doesn't need more extraction. It needs reciprocity. And for that to happen, we must build resilience. The resilience begins with each of us right here, right now. And it begins with us connecting to our own ancestral lineage, because the ancestors talk about this all the time. They talk about it in the Patreon community, but we'll go ahead and we'll say it now. If you need more resilience, connect with your own ancestry. When you connect with your own ancestry and your own lineage, you will stop colonizing other lineages for yourself, because you'll actually be in your own ancestry, aligning with these beings that have also had human bodies that are here to support you through this. Because what we are facing right now is not new to this planet. It is a different flavor and a different variety, but we know how to move through these difficult and challenging times, and we have an opportunity to stop this cycle and to shift timelines and to do something different. Right now, in this moment, the energy feels like a dance of connection and disconnection, like being pulled and then pushed and then pulled again. And unfortunately, this is, I mean, for me, it's super uncomfortable. I really don't like it. I'm somebody that has a fair amount of clarity. And when I'm trying to make a decision around a relationship, I'm used to having a lot more clarity than I've been having, and I'm being asked to trust that rhythm of the push and the pull and the connection and the disconnection. Trust that the reconnections always follow the disconnections. That oftentimes, most of the time, we actually have to disconnect so that we can be over here, wherever over here is, and that we can reconnect again, ideally reconnecting with a different energy, so that that relationship with whomever and whatever we are reconnecting with is actually different and better, so that relationship can go through reparation. So always invite in love and joy as your companions on this journey, because these frequencies and these energies, they will carry you through no matter how challenging the path becomes. And this can mean everything is awful and horrible and that you only find this magical moment. Anytime a magical moment shows up, lean into it, because when we get so lost that we forget that miracles are not available to us, or that when we forget that miracles are not part of our ordinary reality, then we have really lost connection with what's going on. Whether it's within yourself, your family, your children, your relationships, or any other dynamic, you may notice the energies of disconnection surfacing. Disconnection, though it can be uncomfortable, it's not my favorite thing. I actually don't like it at all. It can be seen as benevolent disruption. And we invite you to the reorganization and the challenge and the reevaluation of your belief systems that this benevolent disruption is actually inviting you into. It shakes things up. I mean, it definitely shakes things up. It allows us to recognize new patterns and opportunities that we may have overlooked, right? So it's actually offering us a reset every time. Whenever we experience disconnection, see it as a reset. We're resetting the button. So it's kind of like when you're driving in your car and your GPS gets confused and lost and it goes recalibrating. Essentially, just hear that voice. When you are disconnected with someone, ideally, maybe that reconnection can happen again. And if it can't rehappen with that person, another person will show up and you will be offered another opportunity to re-engage with that energy. But you will be different and they will be different, regardless of whether that person, it's that same person or a new person. And it's like recalculating. That's what's happening. So you are having an opportunity to recalculate, recalibrate, and enter in again with a new and a different type of awareness. As we are moving forward, and I think we can all agree that the world feels incredibly uncertain and overwhelming right now, to navigate this, recalculating, we must learn to think differently, recalculating. And every time that you go at the same problem or the same issue with the same mindset, recalculating, because we need to explore alternative solutions, recalculating, and show up for one another in new ways, in different ways, including ourselves. And it's time to redefine what community truly means. Again, this message of community, I don't think it's going to be leaving us, but to identify the sources of divisiveness and practice discernment in how we approach life and relationships. Recalculating. So, discernment, again, the beings are going to say this until the end of time, most likely. Maybe not. Maybe we get it sooner, but discernment should be our full time job. So, enter Foxglove. Both poisonous and healing. As we have mentioned before, she embodies discernment, teaching us to carefully choose when to heal, when to protect, and how to balance both. Her lesson is one of clarity and wisdom, urging us to see beyond fear and to embrace transformation, understanding that the more faith that we have in our ability to discern, the more that we'll actually have more confidence as we enter into the world around us. When all this information is coming at us, through us, and around us, we actually know what is our truth in the moment and what is aligned for us. So, for the foreseeable future, I am sensing that each time I share one of these updates, different beings or energies will step forward to offer unique insights, each touching on discernment. Because discernment isn't just a skill, it's a practice, it's a way of life, and it's a way of being. And speaking of being, these other beings once came through and they said, and if this resonates with you, I'll just go ahead and share this little nugget. Discernment comes from the heart, judgment comes from the mind. Those are two very different frequencies and energies. So when you find yourself going, oh, I'm being so judgmental, the question is, are you really being judgmental or are you discerning? And that's actually for you to discern in the moment and to start feeling and discerning the difference between discernment and judgment. Discernment is a practice, it's a way of life. We can practice this through everyday choices, whether it's as simple as what to eat right now, which vitamins should I take, what to spend, who to spend time with, what to spend time on, or which larger, more esoteric decisions align with our values. And also, what are your values? You should probably know what those are too. Discernment is a full time job, it's also a full time companion, helping us to sift through what's true and what's false and what connects us and what divides us. This work isn't easy. We're constantly fed dichotomies, polarizing information that's designed to pull us into different directions and actually to really attack our root chakra and to put us in this space of like, us versus them and I'm better than you, and to activate the competitiveness that really the shadow part of our sacral chakra is. This is where the competition part of us comes forward. That's like, I'm better than you. I only want to help you if my help doesn't help you be better than me. So all this stuff is available for us to work on. All this information that is pulling us in different directions is challenging because our education systems, our societal structures have really trained our minds to function in very specific ways within very rigid frameworks. And these patterns run deep and they are shaping how we engage with the world. And breaking free from them begins first with recognizing them. So this is why it's really challenging, is because the very things that have trained us are also, again, keeping us in a very rigid way and how we think that we should act or function in society. Here's something else to consider. The Fae, the liminal beings, the nature spirits, the ancient ones have been whispering lately about the importance of allowing ourselves to be wrong. And to be clear, this is more specifically a Fae message, that they are asking us to allow ourselves to be wrong and to give ourselves permission to make mistakes. As children, we're granted that freedom, sometimes depending on your upbringing. But somewhere along the way, we hit a milestone or a threshold where suddenly mistakes are no longer acceptable. When we err, when we make a mistake, when we screw up, we tend to feel shame immediately. And what happens when we feel shame is that the ego recoils from humiliation, because the fear of being humiliated is one of the deepest wounds the human ego seeks to avoid. There is literally terror in making a mistake because we don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to be called out. We want to make sure that we're part of the tribe. We want to be useful, whatever it is. But what if we could approach mistakes with compassionate curiosity? What if we extended that compassion to everyone around us? If we could hold each other in our imperfections, we'd soften those sharp edges. Those are the edges that we've carried and protected for way too long. Because really, in the adult world, if we don't make mistakes, we don't actually learn. And the fastest way to learn is actually to make a mistake. But it's helpful if the people that we are making mistakes around, or that we have people around us that are supporting us through any shame that comes up. As we are working with our inner children and moving through giving ourselves permission to make mistakes, it's always beneficial to remember that there are forces, cosmic, earthly, and unseen, that hold us, guide us, and nudge us through uncertain times. These energies anchor us, inviting specific kinds of work to unfold in the right moment. It can feel heavy, overwhelming even, but this month of May is also a fertile time to lean into learning. So, another main message that came through as we are working with these mental energies is literally to pick up a book, to engage in a conversation. This is an opportunity to engage with the intellectual part of ourselves. If you've been wanting to explore injustices, racial inequalities, the decolonization of the body, or white privilege, now is a good time to begin, or to begin again, or to deepen into that inquiry about how we can look at the structures that we have become entrained to, and how we can break free of them. This is also a time to learn a new language, to sharpen old language skills, to study the philosophy of the yoga that you're practicing. This month's energies encourage us to sharpen our skills and enhance mental clarity by combining creativity with intellectual pursuits, by pairing embodiment practices with intellectual pursuits. Essentially, intellectual pursuits are really up right now in a way that is really beneficial for us. This balanced approach is clutch because it helps us navigate through the fog and embrace valuable learning opportunities. So, by pairing intellectual pursuits with something that's creative, or something that involves the body, is really advantageous to helping to navigate through the fog. And yes, don't forget the creativity, because picking up something that connects you to the earth, your senses, your breath, or yourself, plant seeds, tend a garden, pick up an instrument, practice toning or breath work, or anything that roots you in the present. Creativity paired with curiosity and mental sharpening is powerful, powerful medicine, especially right now. The May energies are supporting this. The Foxglove is supporting this. The allies this month, the Prehnite Epidote, is supporting this. The Haleakala Salt energy is supporting this. It is bringing us to the body and to the intellect simultaneously, because there is a fog that is settling in, a collective confusion that is pulling us away from what matters. But the truth is that our attention, and we'll be saying this a lot, that our attention is our greatest currency. Where we place it, how we spend it, shapes both our inner and outer worlds. The invitation is to lean into a creative practice alongside learning, or an embodiment practice alongside learning. Whether you're doodling, journaling, sipping tea while meditating, learning a new language, or exploring something that feels fresh and tender. For me, it might look like learning new songs, diving into books on sound and healing, or simply being curious about the voice as a bridge between worlds. Whatever you choose, let it stretch your mind and make you a beginner again. And to invite in safety, to allow yourself and give yourself permission to be a beginner again. A beginner who isn't caught up in doing things right, but who is present, curious, and alive in the process, and who is seeking to explore this thing that you are curious about. Because the process, oh, the process is everything. The dragons know this, and they remind us always. The dragon consciousness is constantly reminding me, fall in love with the process. You must fall in love with the process. They remind us to savor the unfolding, to fall in love with the act of creation itself. Life is a process, it's not a destination. So find the process you love to inhabit, the one that makes you feel alive, the one where thriving feels natural. And as we move through this transitional time, whether you're in the northern hemisphere basking in the sun and the glorious blooms, or in the southern hemisphere surrounded by the stark reflective beauty of snow, there is something to celebrate. If you're in the south, tune in to the quiet aliveness of winter, because snow amplifies sound, it turns the world into a crystalline mirror of stillness and presence. That stillness, that water energy holds wisdom. It's a reminder to reflect, to listen, to connect with the life that's humming, even in the quiet. No matter where you are, celebrate. Celebrate the aliveness, even when you don't feel alive at all, because the burst of sunlit growth or the profound stillness of snow, both of those are sacred. Both are alive. Both are parts of the endless, never finished process of being. So let's lean in, let's create, and let's celebrate together to the best of our ability. And let us thank all of the beings that helped to make this transmission possible: the snoring dogs, the beauty of the sleeping animals, and all of the beings, the ancient ones, the Fae, the dragon consciousness, the Foxglove, the Prehnite Epidote, the crystalline consciousness, the plant medicine consciousness, all of your energies, all of your guides. And with that, we say thank you, thank you, thank you, and we love you, we love you, we love you.